Hey guys, it's Natalie, and I hope that everybody is doing very well. It has been forever since I've done a tag video, and I'm very, very behind. So I'm going to be doing the Dilemmas of a Book Nerd tag, and I'm going to be doing the Book Snob tag. I thought they might work well together. I guess we shall see. So stay tuned. All right, I'm going to start with the Dilemmas of a Book Nerd tag, since that is a tag that I was actually tagged to do. I was tagged by the Paper Traveler, and I will obviously leave her channel link down in the description. And I believe, who was the originator? Lindsey's Little Library was the person, I guess, who created this tag, so I'll also be linking her down in the description. But let's get to the questions. Oh, they're not questions, they're dilemmas. I'm so sorry, I should not say questions because they have them written as your dilemmas. So this is dilemma number one. Dilemma number one. Did I even say dilemma? Dilemma number one. Book storage. How do you store and organize your books? Well, I think many of you know, so I won't tell you the whole story, but before I discovered BookTube, like literally like a couple months before I discovered BookTube, we had 4 or 5 brown wooden bookshelves around my house, completely filled up with books, until my husband said, you know, these are taking up a lot of room. Are you planning to like reread all of these books? And I'm like, no, we can, you know, we give them away. So I gave away about 90% of my books. We kept one bookshelf, which is what you used to see in my videos, and I had what was left, because obviously I wasn't going to give away like my nice copies of Harry Potter and whatnot in the books that I collected since then. And then when I started BookTube and I started doing book hauls, that bookshelf quickly filled up. And so what you did not see in a lot of those videos is you saw this nice bookshelf with books, but you did not see the piles. The guest room just had piles of books all over the place. And I told my husband, I said, I don't know what to do. We need to obviously get more bookshelves after we just got rid of them, you know, 6 months ago. And then I started thinking, I was like, you know what? I really like the videos where the bookshelves kind of like surround the booktuber. Like, for example, Sam from Thoughts on Tomes, or Tombs, I never know how to say that. I love her background where she has her bookcase right there. And there's some other people who have their bookcase that kind of goes around them, and I've always really liked that background. So since we were starting from scratch again, I said, I want a bookcase that goes around me. So as of right now, I have not gotten this thing completely filled up. There's still some room on the bottom shelves, but yeah, I use my bookshelf. I also obviously use the end table by my bed because I can't go to sleep without reading a book, so that is also piled with books. But yes, I now have a nice bookshelf set up, and it is working for me as we currently speak, but we shall see what the future holds. Dilemma number 2, tracking. How do you keep track of what you have read and what books you own? I don't know what we did before Goodreads. Well, I do know we didn't keep track of our books unless, you know, we kept them all and we could just look at our bookshelves. But Goodreads is awesome. I love being able to go in there. I love doing the yearly challenge where you challenge yourself and you can see how well you've done. You can rate books and then they suggest books. I love Goodreads. I don't actually put like my reviews in Goodreads. That's why I don't have a Goodreads link like so many people do, because all you would see is my ratings, and I give my ratings in my monthly wrap-ups. But yeah, Goodreads is awesome, and sometimes I will forget so many of the books I've read, and if I remember, I love going into Goodreads to kind of add it to my collection. But Goodreads is awesome. Dilemma number 3, borrow. Do you lend your books out? Yes, and I wish I could lend more of them out if I had more people in my life who actually read books. But yes, I have a couple of people who I've lent books to, and my mom is starting to read now, which is really, really great. So she, obviously, I let her take whatever she wants. So yeah, I would love to lend my books out more. So yeah, then I would have, you know, friends that read books, which I don't. That's why I'm on BookTube. Dilemma number 4, buying. How do you buy or acquire your books? Well, I don't have like just one way I get books. It really depends. Sometimes I will go to Book Outlet, which I discovered through BookTube, and of course you have to spend the $35. So I might see something on Book Outlet or a couple books on Book Outlet that I really, really want, and then I end up buying a whole bunch of other books. Sometimes it's just impulse purchases. I'll be in Barnes & Noble at our mall, or just be in a store anywhere, and I'll see a really interesting book and I'll pick it up. So I'm a very big impulse buyer, which is not good. I do use Amazon. Sometimes I have to use Amazon since I do the Reese book club. I have to get almost all of her books from Amazon, or just local book clubs that I go to. Sometimes they don't, they're not at my library. And speaking of libraries, I also get a lot of my books from my local library. I have a very nice library. I didn't know how bad some libraries were until I've had conversations with you guys. But yeah, my library is pretty good about keeping up with the latest, newest releases, and you can go right into their website and create an account, and if there's a book but it's not at your specific library but it's in your city library somewhere in another library, you just put a little hold on that, and within 1 or 2 days the book is waiting for you. Walk right in, and right there they have all the books on hold. So I'm very lucky to have my library. So yeah, I would say a little bit from everywhere I get my books. I don't have just like one way. And I also found out that I have a used bookstore that I've been using too. So pretty much any and every way I use. Dilemma number 5, comments. How do you respond to the "how do you read so much" comment or similar comments? Well, everybody who watches my channel, or if you're new, you might not know, I have to read to go to sleep. Like, that is my sleeping pill. I fall asleep every night reading. So that means I have to read every night, and I usually read about 3 hours a night. Like, if I know I have to be asleep by 10, then I will usually go back to my bed around 7. If I know I can, stay up later to like 11 or midnight, I might not go back to read till like 8 or 9. But yeah, I read at least 3 hours a night, and then I always have a book with me. So, if I'm waiting at the doctor's office, or, if I have an afternoon, where I'm not doing much and there's not much on TV, sometimes I'll read. I read quite a bit, but I'd say the bulk of my reading is before I go to sleep at night. Dilemma number 6, next book. How do you pick your next read? Okay, well, I read 3 books at a time. Not literally, because that would be humanly impossible, but I am reading 3 different books, and I will just kind of change them out throughout the night because I read for such a long period of time. Sometimes it's good to, read a few chapters in this book and then read a few chapters in that book. And because I have so many books I'm excited for, I have to have at least 3 because 1 is just not enough for me anymore. I'm always reading at least 1 mystery thriller. I'm always reading at least 1 fantasy. And then the third one is kind of my miscellaneous. So that could be contemporary, science fiction, historical fiction, memoir, which I can never say correctly. I was telling my husband last night, I said memoir. I cannot say that right. But right now I am reading a memoir as my 3rd book. And then if I finish my fantasy book, then I go in and pick a different fantasy book. Obviously, if I finish my mystery thriller, I go pick another mystery thriller. So yeah, that's how I pick my books. Dilemma number 7, travel. How do you pick what books you bring on vacation with you? Well, I never bring hardbacks. I look at what I'm currently reading, like I said, because I read 3 books, and I usually will pick, if let's say there's 2 paperbacks and 1 hardback I'm reading, then I'll take the 2 paperbacks. There have been occasions where I'm actually reading 3 hardbacks, and I will not bring those. I will go in and grab 2 paperbacks, but I always usually travel with 2 books, paperback books. Hopefully it's already in what I'm reading, but not always, not always. Dilemma number 8, annotate. Do you write or highlight or mark up your books in any way? I go back and forth. I will go through a phase where I annotate constantly and there's just writing and highlighting all over the books, and then sometimes I'll go through phases where I'm just like, I just want to read the book. I don't feel like annotating it. A lot of it has to do if I'm really busy also writing, because a lot of times I annotate, like if I just really like the way certain words are being used, or something like that, just like think something is worded really well, I'll highlight that just for inspiration. But then a lot of times if I'm not in my writing class, I'm not doing a lot of writing, I just read them. Okay, dilemma number 9, new or backlist. Which do you prefer, new releases or backlist books? Honestly, I really don't care. I just want to read good books, which is why I was so excited when I found BookTube, because I went from just struggling to find my next book to having a physical TBR that is insane. So I really, doesn't matter. I just want good books. And the last one, dilemma number 10, sequels. Do you read books as they are released or wait for an entire series to be published before reading one book? This actually is a true dilemma, and I have gotten myself in trouble because I do not like to reread books. And there are a couple sequels out there where I remember that I did read the first book. I can't remember what happened, and if the book is like incredibly long, I'm like, I don't really feel like going back and rereading that. So a lot of times I end up not finishing series or trilogies because I just don't want to go back and reread the first 1 or 2 books. But now that I'm on BookTube and I talk about everything that I read and I review and I make bullet points, points. The books are staying with me so much better, so if it's a few months before the next one comes out, it's usually not a big deal. So BookTube is kind of taking care of that issue for me. So yeah, now I just read them as they come out. All right, we are now switching to the second tag. The next tag I was not tagged in, but I saw Gaia Athena doing it, and I thought it was really cute. It was, I believe, yes, the original person was Tia and all the books, so I will link her down in the description. I just thought this was really cute, and I've seen a few people do it, so I was like, book nerd, book snob, they go together as we are seeing. I think they're going to go together. Let's see. Number 1, adaptation snob. Do you always read the book before you see the movie? Yes. I am one of those hardcore, I always read the book before I see the movie. I do not read books if I have already seen the movie for it, because I do not like reading books where I pretty much kind of already know what's going to happen, which is why I'm not a big rereader unless it's just been years and years and years. Like I'm rereading Harry Potter, but it's been a long time. But I actually, a lot of the best books I've ever read, it's because I've been in the movies and I've been watching previews, and I'll see a preview that will just look phenomenal, and then they'll say, based on the book, blah, 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 and I will sometimes grab my purse and write that name down. I know Ready Player One, The Darkest Minds, The Fifth Wave. Oh, goodness, I could go on and on about books that I saw a preview for it, and I went, and I read it, and I read some really great books, so yeah. Number 2, format snob. You can only choose one format in which to read books for the rest of your life. Which one do you choose? Physical books, ebooks, or audiobooks? Definitely physical books. I will occasionally do ebooks. Those are good for traveling. I will sometimes rely on my ebooks if I don't want to deal with books at all while I'm traveling. I really do not like audiobooks thus far. I've tried a couple, and I don't know if it's because I read really fast and to me they kind of go slow, or if it's just because I'm such a visual person. I just like to see the words, so I'm not a big audiobook person. Not at all. Okay, number 3, ship snob. Would you date or marry a non-reader? Well, I am already married, and ironically, when I got married, I was not that big of a reader. Like, I would be the kind of person who would maybe read 5 or 6 books a year, which is better than not reading anything, right? And actually, there was a period in the very beginning of my marriage where my husband was reading constantly. He said he wanted to read all the classics, and he really was reading classics all the time, while I was sitting on the TV, eating chips and watching TV, and he was being the more intellectual reader. And then now it's swapped, and he doesn't read because he's really, really into his video games, but he does know how to read. That sounds horrible. He does read. His favorite book is The Hobbit. We have some really nice books that are on his little bookshelf, and he keeps saying that he's going to start reading more, but I have yet to see it, so I will let you know if that actually turns out. Genre snob. You have to ditch one genre, never to be read again for the rest of your life. Which one do you ditch? Oh my gosh. Well, I would say like horror, but I don't read horror. So that would not, I think they're talking about book genres you actually read. Oh, goodness. I probably should have thought about this before I started filming. Which one would I pick? I guess I'm going to go with contemporary. I mean, I do like contemporary, but if you look at my book list, that's the one I have the least of. So I guess contemporary, because I gotta have my mystery thriller. I gotta have my fantasy. I'm reading really good sci-fi and historical fiction. I told you I'm trying to get more into historical fiction. So I guess contemporary, but that would hurt. I would be very sad if I couldn't read contemporary anymore. Let's see, what is the next one? Uber genre snob. You can only choose to read from one genre for the rest of your life. Which genre do you choose? Well, my favorite genre is mystery thriller, and then fantasy is like right up close to it. But I guess mystery thriller. I would be very sad if I couldn't read those, because those are the ones I usually get through the quickest. But I really like, that'd be sad. That'd be sad if I couldn't read my fantasy and my sci-fi and my historical fiction. I mean, that would be rough. But yeah, I guess mystery thriller. But that would be a sad, sad day for me. Community snob. Which genre do you think receives the most snobbery from the bookish community? actually, in my opinion, this is kind of funny. I think the genre that is the most popular, oh, wait a minute. I just realized that would be the one I would pick because I could get away with, I would probably say YA for the book genre if I could only read one book genre, because if I'm reading YA, then I can read YA mystery thrillers, I can read YA fantasies, right? I can read YA, I don't know if I could read contemporary if it would fit with the rules, but I could read all those other genres. I would just have to read YA. Ooh, I kind of found a loophole. Yes, I'm going to change my answer. I would just read YA so I could read all the books that I liked. But no, that's not even what this one's asking. It's asking which genre do you think receives the most snobbery? I think YA is the most popular genre on BookTube. A big reason being because most booktubers are younger, but also YA is popular by itself. When I go to my YA writing classes, there are plenty of people way older than me that are in there. I know plenty of people who are way older than me who love YA, but that, as it being the most popular, ironically, it is the one that receives the most snobbery kind of comments. A lot of times when people do their newbie book tags, I'll hear people say, and I won't just do YA. Or even some of my older BookTube friends, I've heard them say things like, putting down some of the bigger BookTubes, oh, we need people to stop talking about YA so much and, talk about, other books, which I agree that YA is talked about a lot on BookTube, but it also receives the most snobbery. I've heard the most comments putting down would be YA. If somebody's going to put down a genre, it's going to be YA. I stick with that answer. All right, the last one, number 7, snobbery recipient. Have you ever been snubbed for something that you have been reading, or for reading in general? Well, I've never been snubbed for reading in general. I guess I'm going to go back to YA. No, nobody's ever personally ever said anything to me directly or online or anything like that. But the paper traveler and I think had a conversation, or she asked me a question. Do people ever, make you feel uncomfortable that you are older and you also read YA? And I told her that sometimes I do. I feel these people who are saying BookTube has way too much YA might look at me or, the paper traveler, people who are a little bit older and think, oh, we should definitely be bringing the adult books. And oh my gosh, they're talking about YA too. Oh, that is so annoying. So even though nobody's ever said anything to me directly, when I've watched videos, I've definitely heard YA put down, and then I do feel weird because I'm like, oh gosh, I hope nobody is looking at me, and I guess they might be looking at me, but I don't know. On the other hand, when I do reviews of YA books, those get the most views. I mean, I know if I put YA in any of my reviews, like my Gimme 5 or More, my YA standalones, my YA series, those are the ones that got the most views. So yeah, I do sometimes feel like some people in the community indirectly might be like, you're older, you should know better kind of a thing, or you're older, you should at least be the one bringing the adult books. But other than that, nobody's ever said anything directly to me about anything, but that's the closest I could come up with. So yeah, hope that made sense. All right, so that is the end of the book snob tag. So I told you the dilemmas of a book nerd, and then I gave you the book snob tag. My next video, I'm going to be doing Gimme 5 or More. I told you before I was going to be doing contemporary, but I actually think I want to do the top books of 2019 so far. I actually think that's what I'm going to do for my Gimme 5 or More, and then maybe do contemporary after that. Yeah. All right, that is all I have. I hope everybody has a great day, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.